Surf's up. We're looking at the state of ESL Impact, which is now indefinitely being suspended. I'm sure that the conversation in my Twitch chat will remain civil as it flies across the screen. In parentheses, it definitely won't. But ESL statement is, we have made the incredibly difficult decision to suspend the ESL Impact circuit at the end of Season 8. While ESL Impact has succeeded in its mission to raise the profile of women's CS, despite significant investment, the current economic model is simply not sustainable. Our commitment to creating a diverse and inclusive esports ecosystem remains a core value for EFG, that's ESL FACEIT Group, and we will continue to support the community. With this upcoming season being the last of the current ESL Impact iteration, we want to thank all the players, teams, and fans for your dedication and for everything ESL Impact has accomplished. Women's leagues, when they're formed, generally speaking, I don't think are supposed to be immediately about profit. There's a few aspects to creating a women's league that is beneficial for any space. I'll list them off the top of my head right now. Yeah, this is like the trademark term I use for everything. But you gain a sort of, you widen your cultural breadth. So think of, I would say the most obvious parallel I draw is WNBA. WNBA was, for all intents and purposes, not sustainable. As far as I know, I did not think it was a sustainable product for a significant amount of time. The salaries reflected that for the players. And it was mostly built, as far as I know, as an initiative to try to grow the brand of basketball as a whole. Lately, WNBA really struck gold because this opportunity was ahead of these players, these women. Women could aspire to develop their talent and focus on this industry. Who knows if Caitlin Clark, had there been no WNBA, even begins to play basketball to the same level or dedicates the amount of time and the amount of people that dedicated their time to her, had it not been for a WNBA, which in itself is the end of the roadmap for someone like her's journey. For ESL Impact to end at this point, and let's even bring up ESL Impact Wikipedia. This was a league that it started in 2022, $1.2 million cumulative prize pool. It's a hefty investment. November 30th will be the last game played of the ESL Impact season. That's going to be a pretty heartfelt event, I have to imagine. The first event seemed to take place, the qualifiers, in 2022 April. So like 3.5 years of play. And we got a few people that really rose up in terms of their profiles. I would first of all say that the broadcast talent, who didn't really have as much of a platform, definitely were able to find some footing on this. People like Darth Mike, since hired for, he was hired before and after at big events. Heku, who had a little bit of a dry spell in terms of her event work, but then Impact was there for her. Couple just kind of supplemented some of her work. It's a little bit more sparse. I'd say Lucy is likely one of the best examples. Lots and lots of Impact work here. If we do Control F Impact, 23 events total in the Impact circuit. Ended up with Lucy actually working ESL Pro League at one point. EPL 2023. In person, by the way. Obviously helped foster some of the talent on that side. BDog, Naori Mizuki, James Bardoff, Hianu, Sevenlicious, Apples, and Mac, all padding out their resumes with Impact opportunities. Obviously beneficial to them. But more importantly, I would say, as of course, let's just be real, the show doesn't run without the players. Anna put herself on the map, I'd say, more than practically anybody in my eyes. I don't think the crossover in terms of knowledge or just brand awareness, I don't really see many of these people all too often nowadays. I don't see many of these women nowadays. But I also want to highlight the fact that already the direct felt impact, because I think some people are joining this stream and they're thinking to themselves, okay, all I care about is tier 1 men's CS. How the fuck do I care or get excited or even shed a tear or have a single shred of empathy for a women's league dying? I think that the most obvious examples that are in our faces more so are coaches that played or are coached in this league. Flashy, the coach of Liquid today, kind of went from being, I don't know what you want to consider these teams, like Budapest 5, Salamander, like a lot of just kicking around in the Hungarian scene. And then boom, CLG Red, FlyQuest Red, Navi Analyst, Liquid Coach. He springboarded his entire career off of success and just being a notable figure in the women's space. There is a direct impact to Impact, no pun intended, actually. Also, the coach of MIBR, JNT, was the coach of the Furia female team for little less than a year. And again, possibly could have gotten some notoriety, found some success elsewhere. But look at this. Wins 3 C-tier events with Furia female, and then boom, gets hired for MIBR. That's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that because they had opportunities, JNT and Flashy, to work with tier 1 women's orgs, they got onto tier 1 regular orgs. So that's one of the most direct effects that I feel like if you're a dude that only cares about men, then here are some examples of guys who have contributed positively to both spaces and then were rewarded for their efforts in the women's spaces. So obviously there's been a lot of ideas surrounding this. I'll give my initial take via just reading off my own tweet, but this is kind of what I was thinking about this morning. It's that the death of Impact, this made me laugh. That's why I liked it. Don't get mad, okay? The death of Impact affects all of CS. Even if Tier 1 CS is not directly reliant on a women's league, Tier 1 talent was fostered in a women's ecosystem. Like I mentioned, Flashy and JNT. Particular demographics interface more with Impact. By that, I mean, there were definitely people in ESL Impact circles that I didn't really ever see saying anything in the Tier 1 space. But then if I go onto the ESL Impact Twitter, read what they're saying, well, they're saying a lot more about that space. So I think that they were able to engage with the game of Counter-Strike through this vehicle that is no longer present. And it simply hurts the overall perception of the game. I think it goes without saying that Game Changers is such a solid initiative, and the WNBA are both such solid initiatives that even if their bottom line is in the red, it allows a pathway, once again, for, I'd say women, people that identify as women, to play in these sort of leagues. And so they're going to have a more vested interest in the health of the game as a whole. And so for Counter-Strike to not have that, it's kind of like we're pulling ourselves back into the roots of like being this sort of like, I'm not trying to use words that are going to unavoidably hurt people, but it kind of pulls us back into the dredges of online male-dominated culture. It's not a very accepting space. It doesn't set people up to socialize in real life spaces. It is better if, I'll even just say this, almost as objectively as possible, it is better if the spaces that you interact with online are as diverse as possible so that you are able to filter through and parse through a variety of viewpoints so that when you interface with people in person, that you're more ready to then be more accepting, which will only benefit you. This will only benefit you in the long run, okay? Like you should still think with a critical mind about what it is that people say and don't take things at face value and simply be accepting of people because they are in your vicinity. But you should also, by virtue of having a space that is directed towards marginalized genders and women, then you are then more readily capable of interfacing once you actually have to inevitably work with women. I really find it actually rather loathsome and almost sometimes a little bit exhausting that this space was so dominated by, practically speaking, let's just be real, white men for a very long time. And like as a white passing man, okay, I'm just saying, I am likely a beneficiary of the space being geared towards this sort of group. However, it's just kind of exhausting to read forum posts and like some chat where it's just like, yeah, sometimes you guys are fucking clever and I will fucking laugh, and I'm not actually ashamed to say, I'm not ashamed to say that. Like sometimes you guys say funny shit that's kind of rude and I'm very ignorant, but at the same time, it's not good to have your thoughts just constantly bombarded by people that are obviously misogynistic. Like it's bad. That's a bad thing. So it's clearly better to have an online space that is a little bit more diverse. Okay, that's That's my end thing. I'm not making a bigger claim with that. I'm trying to keep that as objective and logical as possible because I know that this is not something that is as straight. It's not as clear cut as, oh my God, we just lost NA-EPL. Like losing NA-EPL fucking demonstrably hurt tier 1 Counter-Strike. This is a bit more, there's a layer of abstraction here that you have to breach in order to see the benefits of what Impact provided. Now, I'll start reading some I'll start reading some of the replies here, and I'll start commenting on them. Everybody wants the Thorin reply. Let me read it. So quote tweeting it, he says, was never about elevating women, was a cynical business move to fit woke politics and get DEI sponsor dollars. This is not a bad thing. Getting DEI sponsor dollars is not a bad thing. Finding sustainability in esports is a good thing. Now, it doesn't work for them. The Saudis get rid of it. Shame on anyone bemoaning this if you didn't watch it. There's a couple aspects to this. I mean, I think, first of all, I'm not mad when the WNBA gets a partnership for the NBA by virtue of the fact that they were able to then appeal to both genders with that sponsorship. I like that the NBA gets more money. I even, as someone who does not work for ESL at all anymore, I like when ESL gets more money from sponsorships. I like when that happens. So is this part true? Was a cynical business move to fit woke politics and get DEI sponsor dollars? I think you could see this in the most cynical way possible, and you could assess it as this. I mean, okay, I'm processing it as I'm seeing it. If I react instantaneously, it's going to be knee jerks that are just not really actually beneficial to anybody. Could you perceive it as a cynical business move? Yes. At the end of the day, did this give some 50 women livable salaries that they can then pursue Counter-Strike to a greater degree than they ever did before? Also, yes. I see the net good of it, and I appreciate that so much more than do I want to chop the legs off of ESL for trying to do this. I'm not even working for ESL in any capacity, but I don't mind if they actually got DEI sponsor dollars. I don't mind if they got that. The Saudi stuff, I'm almost surprised that the league kept running, but I'm not going to inject speculation of how they are sports washing everything. I'm not going to inject that right now. This part I actually don't agree with, I would say. Shame on anyone bemoaning this if you didn't watch it. I don't think that people have to be the most devout fans or really even watch almost any of ESL Impact to appreciate what it does in the space. I don't think you have to be like that. I personally only watch the NFL for the 49ers. As soon as they're out of contention, I mostly just stop watching. So could I even draw another? Oh, I don't watch tennis at all. I don't watch a single fucking minute of tennis. I think it's great that tennis exists. I think it's great that I think tennis is fucking boring as shit. I think it's hella boring. And maybe you're gonna get mad at me for that, but I appreciate that it exists. I'm glad it creates communities focused around athleticism, being outdoors, socializing. I think anything that does that to a positive level and isn't exploitative is a good thing for society. I think that this is probably where I draw ire with this point. Okay. All right, let's see. MIBR, they had a women's team. Women's CS cannot stop. The announcement of the end of ESL Impact, the leading global women's CS competition, is a heavy blow to thousands of athletes, teams, fans, and everyone who believes in a more inclusive esports ecosystem. Since 2010, when we were one of the very first orgs in the world to invest in a women's roster, MIBR has carried the responsibility of defending this space and fighting for more opportunities. Today, together with FlyQuest Red and Imperial, we reaffirm our commitment to do everything we can to keep women's CS alive and thriving worldwide. But for this to happen, we need the power of the community. Watch, support, engage, cheer. Every view, every interaction, and every word of encouragement matters. The future of women's CS depends on all of us. MIBR will continue to invest, support, and open new paths. We will not stop. The game is only truly great when it is for everyone. CS needs women. GG for all. I find it a little ironic that they're using the GG for all hashtag when it is GG for women. That's not even supposed to be that cheeky. It's just like, we still trying to use that one right now. I mean, either way, I think that the core message here is exactly what needs to be said by an organization that has also pretty much just, like, let's just be real. They have probably just set money on fire. They have probably just set money on fire for the entirety of them having a women's operation here. Did it actually professionalize the MIBR brand, give them more visibility? I mean, like, did they get DEI sponsors? Probably. They probably got some sponsors. I don't think anybody is really profiting off of that much women's stuff. There maybe is. I'm not the authority on this kind of stuff, but the core message here just being that they need everybody's support. I'm going to say this. I'm going to watch season 8. I'm going to watch the season 8 finals, okay? I'm going to watch them. Let me see when they are. November 28th to 30th. I'm going to watch some of it. It is right during the major, but I am going to watch some of it. I am going to tune in. I am going to provide watch hours. I will provide watch hours to that. Okay, here, ESCharts showing that with ESL Impact coming to an end, here's a look at its viewership over the years. Season 1 went ham. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here's BDog's take. Devastating. BDog obviously worked a lot of the Impact. I'm not sure if he worked all of it. How many seasons, BDog? All of them. Did them all. Every single one. The decision has been made and it has blindsided so many. However, I firstly want to say thank you to ESL Impact because for the last couple of years, you have been the only ones to champion women in CS and provided a lot of opportunity to players and talent alike, myself included. Exactly. I want to say thank you to the players that I've learned so much from for being incredible role models to the scene, the work ethic, the friendships I've made, and the determination to follow a dream. To any and all organizations that invested within the women's scene during this circuit, past or present, thank you for helping the ecosystem. Thank you for helping the players and giving them full-time opportunities. Losing ESL Impact is significant because it means that there are no tournament organizers investing within the space. Without this, the scene could simply fail to exist. I encourage TOs to look at this and see an opportunity, one that has always been there and one that will continue to be there. That gets an RT from me. Well said. Literally zero fault in anything put forward there. I also, okay, here's a guy that I just follow. I just thought this was kind of interesting. This is one of the few things that can be used to defend against the Saudi sports washing. Well, that's gone now. Shooting for profit and sustainability is always important, but it's a shame to see millions dumped into EWC, which screams CGS 2.0 while cutting this far smaller project. I think that's just a shrewd take on the matter. Talking about sustainability when it's like, come on, like we see what's going on with EWC. You're just throwing money. You're just throwing money at stuff. Like you're just absolutely like that is setting funds alight. That's creating a deficit by simply existing. Okay. And then we got James Bardoff here. There are so many iconic and marketable personalities in this space. Get a sports brand to partner with the league and players with live activations and booths at larger events, tie-ins with ads at other ESL events, etc., and finals before grand finals at big events, as we have seen before. So giving some ideas to the space. Okay, let me just pull up a couple people. Let me pull up so here's Lucy's take. I am heartbroken. ESL Impact has changed so many lives, including my own, and this news is nothing short of crushing for the entire women's CS community. I don't have the words to process this fully right now, but we cannot and will not let this blow take away or stop all the amazing work done to build up the scene over these years. This will not be the end of a women's CS. Love it. Love how it is hopeful for the future. I love the optimism. I like that that's a message that's also coming across too, that it will indeed continue. Now we got sapphiRe. If people don't remember sapphiRe, strong competitor back in the day in women's CS. Was one of the best observers in Counter-Strike for quite some time. Actually, you know what? sapphiRe and Potter are two of the best examples of women that strongly benefited from women's spaces earlier on that now have active roles in the, I'd say, Valorant space or just CS space. I mean, sapphiRe is on Dignitas's management, right? As far as I know, unless that ended. She still observes everything, like everything. Every big-ass Valorant event, sapphiRe is there. Another beneficiary of women's spaces propping up talent that is now directly, positively impacting men's spaces. If any brands want to work with me to save women's CS, my DMs are open. I founded Radiant GG and we operate publisher-supported women's events in Valorant, Rocket League, Fortnite, Overwatch, and Rainbow Six Siege. Let's figure out how to save CS2. Like it's a boost from me. And then we've got FlyQuest Red. ESL Impact is ending, Women's CS is not. Impact has been the premier platform for Women's CS, and with the news of its closure, the future of Women's CS is now at risk. We can't let this be the end for so many amazing players. Red has been committed to this community for over 20 years and has weathered the storm of many TOs, orgs, and titles. But with today's news, we need everyone who loves the space to band together to keep our community alive, and we know that we can do it. This moment hurts, but it's also a chance to shape the future. We may not have all the answers yet, but we know this. Red is not going anywhere, and we will act. We're calling on fans, players, allies, and partners to join us in trying to figure out how we can keep women's CS strong in 2026. Together, let's build what's next. Unfortunately, no tweet yet from Anna, who I think can be fairly recognized as one of the greatest in the women's space. Vilga's tweet? Okay. While we understand ESL's decision, this marks a difficult moment for our community. They were the sole driving force behind creating opportunities for players and fans alike. ESL Impact was a beacon of hope, and without their tireless effort, the competitive landscape within women's CS would not have reached the level it has today. I like this. It's actually kind of quite positive about what Impact's done, what we've lost, what they've lost. It's not we. Well, it is. You may not think it is you, but it is you. This departure leaves a gap that cannot be overstated. With no active tournament organizers, our scene risks losing the very platform that keeps competition alive. Players need tournaments not only to showcase their skill, but to grow, connect, and inspire future generations. Throughout the history of women's CS, we have faced many hardships, misjudgments, and neglect. Despite all this, we were persistent and never gave up. We continued to fight through this struggle in the face of adversity. We want to express our gratitude to ESL Impact for everything they have built and given to us. At the same time, we call upon others, organizations, and partners to step forward and invest in this community. We hope for more TOs to keep our dreams alive, to ensure that the passion and talent here is not lost, but amplified. It's a good one. It's a good one. Another good one. We got Launders' tweet. This is awful. I'm sorry to everyone whose careers have been affected. Damage is done, but hopefully another league takes the place of Impact. I liked Freddie's tweet earlier. I did an interview with Heku over 2 years ago now, and she said, if Impact grows gradually, it will be forgotten. Unfortunately, the product just hasn't grown or developed enough recently. I have heard rumblings of another big TO doing something next year in the women's scene. If not, the future is very unclear. The women's scene itself is the biggest it has ever been in regards to player base and competition. Hopefully someone comes in to continue this progression. I have Apples' tweet as well. Honestly, so heartbreaking. ESL Impact has given me the opportunity to uplift my talent to the next level, as well as so many other players, producers, casters, and analysts. So sad. I'm sure I'll have a longer tweet later. Apple's also one of the analysts in the Impact space. So another broadcast talent that was recognizing her talent. So a potential voice that would not have been in the space had it not been for Impact's opportunities. To sum up the sentiment here, obviously, I think that there is reason to be cynical about what the greater idea behind Impact was in regards to ESL trying to change their brand and make it more inclusive, especially with the Saudi acquisition. However, I see it, and I think most people see it, that this was a net good in the space, regardless of the fact that there is a greater sports washing campaign that is afoot. When you're a business in any space, you can just be faceless, you can just deliver events, but for ESL, I'm okay with the fact that they invited DEI sponsors, you know, if they actually got any. Again, I think that's great. But I think the main aspect for me about all of this is that there are a lot of people, a lot of women who had very little reason to invest their time and effort into Counter-Strike, period. And then Impact changed that. Impact it created an ecosystem which, if there is no replacement, we can entirely expect that 80+% of these people will just move on to Valorant Game Changers. I don't know what the hell's going on in Rainbow Six, but let's just say something over there. There's a lot of other spaces that would happily have the talent that is being fostered in this kind of environment. I do mind that this is going away, because the end goal is that some of these women who would compete at a higher level, and you can get into the whole discussion about like, oh, maybe you don't think women are ever going to be good enough to play at a super high level. That's fine. I'm even talking about coaching staff. I'm even talking about broadcast talent. I'm talking about observers. I'm talking about anybody that interacted with this space at all. I actually would say that it's still a net good for tier 1 Counter-Strike even if none of the players ever got a tier 1 on a tier 1 team, like a top 20 team. Even if Apple's worked a top tier event and then provided something on the desk that enhanced your viewing experience, even if any of the ex-women players, so like for example, like Potter and sapphiRe are such great examples where it's that you might not have watched any of what they did as competitors, but because they were established personalities in the space, thanks to their achievements in the women's side of things, they were then able to springboard that to Potter becoming a top tier analyst in the CS space, then pivoting to Valorant, first starting as a player on a mixed EG team, then becoming the head coach, then arguably becoming the best coach in that space as a player. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of championships. Okay, a lot of W's. Then as a coach, only one event. But then as a broadcast talent, I mean, like mainstay on the DreamHack, Flashpoint, Blast Circuit, many fond memories of working with Potter. During Flashpoint 2, we had to quarantine in the UK in a basically like a single apartment suites, I guess is what they would be called. And we were just stuck in those for like 14 days before we went to Wembley. So we were just playing ARAM and ordering food all the time. Potter was honestly great. I truly do miss having her in green rooms and in the space, but also incredibly happy for the success she has found on the Valorant side. I don't know what people say in terms of how good she was as a coach or how good she is as a coach. I remember at one point people were saying she's the best coach around this time. I remember people were saying that she is literally the best coach. So either way, all of this is talent that is fostered in women's ecosystems. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at again. I call her Christine because we're close like that. Well done, Anders. Male feminist Anders Bloom, who also worked ESL Impact. ARAM, I know. Just disgusting. Just terrible, honestly. Closing thoughts on this in general. If through all of the shit that we have to wade through in this space already, trying to glean anything about the ESL Impact space that was positive was difficult through the lens of a forum troll who tries to tell you that this is hell on earth. But as initiatives of this gain steam, people like that, they are almost forced to become more accepting. I'm just thinking about things I've seen on these ESL Impact ones before. They are ferocious. The replies have been ferocious in the past. And I'm not making a statement. I'm not making a statement on like other aspects of ESL Impact. I'm not making a statement on that. But as an ecosystem, to see this fade away is a tragedy. It is actually a tragedy. I am definitely mourning the loss of ESL Impact. It is indeed a bad day. Having more spaces for people to build their talent is important. I almost would draw the parallel to this. It's not exactly, but the most similar thing that we've had recently in Counter-Strike is probably, I would say it's the death of ESL Pro League North America. Also, I would think was cited for financial reasons to be too much of a burden. But then what we got instead was that something like 80% of the up-and-coming tier 1.5 talent in North America just left. They went to Valorant. And would some of those guys been tier 1 pros today? Absolutely. Absolutely they would have. I mean, some of them already were tier 1 talent. Some of them being players, broadcast talent, observers, minds that would have helped improve the space that we're still a part of. And I, unfortunately, likely foresee that the best option for people who want to devote their lives to TAC FPS would probably just follow a similar route. And if I'm Riot right now, it's time to pump up Game Changers now. I'm just welcoming everybody. I'm going to say we're adding 100K to the prize pool. We are adding 6 teams. We are expanding the broadcast talent. I would just go in. I would just go in now, swoop up the talent with the hopes that you can develop a couple of those into being blockbuster name value individuals who can prop up. And I'm seeing, so this is the cynical side. So we're going to lose some of those people that are going to be name brand players in the Val space. That's my final take on this whole measure. As always, being toxic is a choice. I'm going to provide watch hours. I can afford to watch one, if not all three of these series. And maybe by watching those 3 matches, if I co-stream them, I'll get the DEI sponsor dollars. Maybe I can just grift these DEI. There's just so many DEI sponsor dollars waiting to be grifted. That's what I'm getting at. There's so many. There's just too many. There's just so much grifting that's possible with women's Counter-Strike. There's just tons of it. Oh my God. I will be a millionaire because of DEI sponsor dollars. It's all gonna come to me.